Welcome back to another episode of Imagination Station Network, and we're joined by another amazing guest. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know this guest. I know her, but I don't know her. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, James. So I've just arrived in this area about 3 months ago, and I'm working as a gardener at Paxton House, just outside Berwick, and loving it. And actually, mentioning to you earlier, I haven't been a gardener for about 25 years, so it's kind of cool to come back to something that I used to love but haven't practiced for so long. And the thing is that my husband and I are job sharing the post there.
Brilliant.
And so he is a really skilled gardener. He's been a horticulturalist and a woodsman for the best part of 30 years. So he has all the skill, and I'm kind of chief weeder, basically.
I know that's what you said when I met her. Jan, Emma just said she's a chief weeder.
Yeah, chief weeder. But learning and loving it, and I just love working outdoors as well. It's very much.
And I hope you don't mind, and I said down the stairs, you came across to me. You came across, and at that time I was wearing a teddy bear hat, and I was doing teddy bear picnic. Not many people come across and approach people, and that for me was such a hand is a kindness.
Yeah.
And it's like people don't do that.
That's nice. I'm glad. Well, and I think that's something I'm really noticing about Paxton House and working there. I just feel like everybody I've met is so friendly and warm, so welcoming. It feels like a really good place to have landed. And actually, can I just plug here?
Of course you can.
I would love there to be some more garden volunteers. So if you'd like to come along and work alongside me and my husband and a group of other fantastic volunteers, please do come.
We'll get some details and we'll pop it in, and we'll pop that in the socials when you launch your podcast as well, before you go. Aye. We're massive fans of Paxton House, when we go there, it's we don't just go there for half an hour, we're there because of the people that's there, whether it be in the restaurant, whether it be just going to the shop. Always make sure I go and see wee Sandra, and go and see people.
It's got a really nice feel to it,
it's a family.
And it's an 80 acres paradise as well. It's just so amazing. So
yeah,
I feel really lucky to live somewhere so beautiful.
And if you're just watching, I know we've got followers all over the world. So this place is in the Scottish borders. If you put it in Google, Paxton House, you'll be able to see why we are talking about it in such a high calibre. But aye, lovely.
Yeah, it's really great.
So we'll talk back about Paxton House because we always do.
Yeah.
But you as a creative, what's your creative journey?
Yeah, gosh, that's a big old question. So I started writing poetry, I think, when I was about 16, and it became a real passion for me and a way of trying to work out or make sense of the world, I think. And so I wrote a lot of really dreadful teenage poetry for many, many years, and it just became something that I really fell in love with, literature and poetry in particular. So I've been practicing that now for 40 years, really. So I've written 3 collections of poetry, and I've just recently brought out my first novel as well.
Brilliant. Where can we get that?
So the novel was published by One World. Here it is.
Cool.
It's called Quinn.
Oh, that's funny. That was my last guest's daughter's name.
Huh. That's really nice coincidence.
Wow.
Yeah, so the novel actually was based on, I've just spent the last decade working in Scottish prisons.
Right.
And so I was teaching creative writing and a kind of philosophy class, and we did a prison magazine together.
Brilliant.
And I loved it. I found it the most challenging place to work, but also the most rewarding in many ways. Not least because I'd never set foot in a prison before when I first went to work there. And I was working in all male prisons as a woman in that classroom situation was, first of all, a challenge, as you can imagine. But I really learned so much, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity to have had a decade working with people who were, convicted of heinous crimes and trying to figure that out. Like, what does it mean? How do you live with that sense of, I suppose, anger, right? So that sense of, how do you live with people who have committed or been convicted of committing horrific crimes against innocent people? And it feels like a very present question, really. Like, there's so much going on in the world right now where that question seems pertinent. And so the book came out of that idea of, well, how do I move towards a position of forgiveness, and what does that look like? And what is forgiveness? It's a massive topic. So the book's really about exploring that through the eyes of a convicted criminal.
Brilliant.
So it's written in his voice. Quinn is the narrator.
Right. So it's written for a second. Quite like that.
Yeah.
It's a tough subject, that, you know, people often shy away from stuff like that. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I was in care as a kid, and a lot of the people who I was in care with are in prison.
Right.
And it's their story to tell, so I'm obviously not going to say it, but, you know, some of them don't deserve the lives that they led down. So giving people a voice who necessarily in the world may not deserve it in the eyes of somebody else, but but you giving it a voice in your book.
But I think the notion of deserving or not deserving is where we kind of fall down in a way, because we get stuck in the right-wrong morality. And of course we need those parameters in certain instances. But also there's a truth for me in the fact that forgiveness is actually about liberation for the person who has been harmed. It's not about condoning the action or saying it's okay, what you did is okay. No, not at all. It's about finding a way to make peace with what you can't change.
True.
And I think a lot of us don't really have an understanding of forgiveness in that way. We kind of automatically think it's a kind of, you know, oh, it's all right, you're giving something to the other person by condoning. No, not at all. Quite the contrary. You're claiming back your own power and saying, the only way I'm going to make peace with what's happened is to forgive it, to let it go.
And I quoted Rafiki for Lion King this morning on one of my quotes.
Nice.
And it was like, you know, it's in the past, so it doesn't matter. It does matter.
It does matter, yeah.
But it's what you do with it.
Exactly.
It's exactly what you do with it. And you can wear it,
you
live it, or you can forgive it.
Right.
It's like...
Because if you don't forgive it, it has a power over you.
Does
it? The perpetrator retains power over you if you are unable to come to that position of forgiveness. And for me, this is a lifelong journey of processing and understanding. Like, it's not something that you kind of immediately, or for me anyway, in my experience, you don't just go from A to B, from A to, which is blame, to B, which is forgiveness. No, it's a really kind of rocky, jagged path. And sometimes you go backwards as well.
And there's a lot of shame involved with stuff in the world. Shame's a massive thing that we don't give it enough oxygen. Yeah. The word shame.
Right.
Like, and as somebody who shamed himself, you know, I get that. I totally get it.
Completely.
But the world, I kind of was talking about the conversation I had this morning, but it was like, the change is coming. Yeah. I feel there is change in the world, that people are. They're looking up now and steady looking down, if that makes sense, without going too much into it.
Do you know, I think they possibly always have. And I mean, always in human history there have been really dark times, and times of people turning to the light and being transformed. And, you know, actually I think that's one of the roles of art, is to change us, and hopefully for the better. Certainly that's what it's been for me. I think all my poetry and my prose writing has kind of taught me things that I maybe otherwise wouldn't have learned, and has stretched and challenged me in ways that I wasn't expecting.
And now you're touching lives with a book that'll make a difference to people who are going to read it, and that's something that I used to sit and listen to writers, and during lockdown time, I remember that. Right. So I was like, and I would listen, and I was like, that's a fantastic way of being able to get rid of your own, let's just use the word shame again, inside a book, and put it out there. It's something that I had never had the concept of, because I wasn't ready to listen and hear that at that right time. So it's nice that words are strong in a world where it's visual.
You know, and I think at the moment as well, there's so much rage in the world at what's happening, the injustice that's going on. And what do we do with that rage? So how can we process the rage in a way that is positively transformational for all of us, right? And I think art is one of the ways in which we can do that, but so is also screaming, dancing, drumming, you know, all these things that we don't tend to do, really. And especially women, I think there's a lot of rage in women that has been suppressed over time, not expressed, and so we're just like walking around like these bombs waiting to go off almost.
And I think I don't quote me on that if I say that, you know, I'm all about the reason why there's a lot more women on this end of the podcast is because I believe I was brought up in a women household.
Okay.
So I was brought up, mother was everything.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's where I get part of my sensitivity, and I've seen that from a young age, that strong, independent women, whether the world wants to admit it or not, don't get enough kudos is the word maybe I'm looking for today, but they don't get enough, even in the creative world, there's not an awful lot of strong women that have been lifted up. And I believe that, you know, it's like, as somebody who was brought up in a woman household, and predominantly has had female friends, so that's why I chose predominantly women to come on, because there's people like yourself who are not opinionated, and it takes the strong women who are not opinionated and the ones who are opinionated in order for the world to go, yeah, we need to take this seriously. It's like, I feel as if, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I feel as if like everybody focuses on you know, on women's rights, they vote and stuff, and I'm like, come on, there's other stuff happening out there that needs your attention. That was great, and don't shoot the messenger, like I commend that. But without the actions of other people to lift these women up and go, give them a chance and let them see it. So that might seem selfish for me choosing.
No, I mean, I think it's also about women stepping up themselves as much as being given the opportunity to. Like, I think, you know, I have to confess, I'm not someone that promotes my work very much. It's not a part of being a writer that I enjoy, and anyone who knows me well will be laughing listening to this. Because, you know, my husband even had to say to me this morning, are you taking your books along, Em? You might want to read an excerpt. I was like, oh yeah.
Hey, listen, I'll be up for it. If you want to read a bit, that'd be great. Listen, it's only me and you in this room. And
shall I read a bit?
Yes, go for it, absolutely.
So I could read like a three minute, is that too long?
Yes, I will try and stay quiet.
Okay, great. So the story goes, this is a story about Quinn, who is he's been convicted of a murder that he believes he hasn't committed. And he's in prison, and it's really about the journey of him coming to terms with the possibility that maybe he has done this. And then halfway through the story, he receives a letter from the mother of the woman that he's accused of killing. And the mother of this woman is wheelchair bound, she's terminally ill, and she invites him, Quinn, to be her carer in her home. So it's a story of really kind of bizarre and extreme radical forgiveness on the part of this woman, Jennifer, who invites Quinn into her home to look after her, even though she knows that he has murdered her daughter.
Wow.
And this story, and I wrote this story, and then a couple of years later, or a year later, I realised, oh my God, this is partly based on a true story that I heard probably in my 20s. I was heavily into listening to Anthony DeMello's spiritual tapes. And he told the story about this American woman whose son was caught up in the gang culture. And, or no, her son wasn't, but he was ruthlessly murdered by a gang member who was having, you know, they do those kind of rites of passage killing. Horrific. And she lost her son through this. And the young boy who carried out the murder went to prison. And over a number of years, she decided that she had to start visiting him because she couldn't make sense of what had happened. And she was so grief-stricken. And she thought, the only way I'm going to try and come to terms with this is seeing the perpetrator of my son's murder and figuring out why he's done this. So she started very gradually going to visit him. And over time, they struck up the most unlikely friendship, really. He had no visitors apart from her, no friends, no family, nothing. And then when his parole date came round eventually, he realised he had nowhere to go, no job, nothing to return to. And so she offered him her home to come and live with her. Not only that, she gave him her son's bedroom. So he moved into her house, and then some years later, after she found him work and looked after him and fed him, she adopted him as her son.
Wow.
And that story just struck me so, like, it was can you imagine doing that?
Powerful.
The mercy in that woman. Oh my God. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, who does that? Who has the capacity? Who has the largeness of heart to do that, right? It just blew me away. And I suppose I must have remembered it. I held it in my body for 20 odd years, and then I worked in the prison, and then this book came along. So I'm going to read the section where so Quinn has arrived at Jennifer's home, and this is one of the first conversations that they have together at the kitchen table. The table was made of old pine and was narrow. I had no memory of it from previous years, perhaps because I had never been given the task of wiping it down and cleaning the crumbs out of the splits and knots. I should say that they knew each other, so the woman that he murdered was a childhood sweetheart, and they lived on the same street, so he knew the mother all his life. It was long enough that Jennifer could sit at it without the wheelchair knocking into the legs, and narrow enough that she could reach across from one side to the other, at least for as long as her arms and hands remained mobile. There was a hand-painted butter dish from Poland, probably a gift from my mother, and a pot of homemade strawberry jam, 2 plates, 2 knives, 2 cups, a dark blue teapot. Morning light was in the kitchen. I thought I would want to ask questions, Quinn, but now you're here, I don't. I don't want to waste time trying to understand what isn't understandable. It's not useful to me anymore. I stared at my plate, my hands in my lap. I did not want those words, as I knew they required the utmost patience of me, and it became clear for the briefest moment why I had been forced to become both master and servant of waiting. I knew how to wait. Nobody could tell me anything about waiting. It had become a deep art, a practice that I had been forcibly immersed in. It was like I had become waiting itself. I had stepped into the brick and cement clothing of waiting. It barely shifted on me and never creased. I could not be folded away neatly. Weight bearer. This isn't about conviction or judgment, she continued. This is a reckoning, and I don't mean a payback for the loss of Andrea. No, no, she shook her head. It's far more than that. She pushed her cup towards the teapot and shakily poured. The tea was well stewed, almost black, and some of it pooled on the old pine table. I did not see her face, as the familiar pain and weariness were troubling my hands and neck, and I could scarcely breathe. Some people think I'm mad having you in my home. In fact, some people hate me for it, but I don't care anymore. It's too painful, too exhausting to keep insisting that it all add up. I've spent so much of my life measuring one thing against another, and now I'm sick of it. It doesn't help. It never adds up. I could feel her eyes on me and managed a salutary nod. A money spider was making its way towards the butter dish in the middle of the table. It crawled fearlessly into the shadow cast by the jar of jam and continued on at the same pace. It was not unusual for me to kill spiders, but I did not move. The sun was pouring into the room. This isn't an act of disloyalty to Andrea. It's an act of freedom for myself. At least that's what I hope it is. I want to make peace with what I can't change. Do you understand? I did not understand, but nodded. Some things are beyond the mind's understanding.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, it always gets me actually.
Especially because you said the first part.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then you went straight into the middle. It was like, words get me. Like,
yeah, me too.
As a nearly 43-year-old human, like words have always got me.
Yeah, they're powerful. And also they never quite get to where you want them to go, and that's why I love it. You have to keep trying, and you're never going to actually be able to capture it.
If I think like with people, creatives, we try and put too far a boundaries past things, and we don't think in the now, because we're always like constantly thinking, oh, we could get there or do this, and it's like, aye, that's humbled me, that wee story. Truly, I know people nice like who have not kind of similar lives to that, and it does. There's many a time that imagine I'm humbled hearing stories for other people's, and
me too.
the fact is you came and you sat on the couch and you've read it is, it's really humble.
But you know, I always think there's so much more to each person that we meet. You know, and you see a person, you see what they're wearing, you see what they look like, you hear their voice, but you don't know their story. And everybody has these incredibly deep, meaningful, beautiful, painful, tender, vulnerable stories. All of us.
And like I always say, the team is like, you know, when you go past in your car and maybe somebody cuts you off, and I'm prone for it.
Right.
You don't know what day they've had.
Right.
That's as soon as I've said, if I do say it, which is rarely now, it's like, no, you don't know what kind of day they've had.
Yeah, that's it.
They don't know what kind of day I've had.
Exactly.
Let's just continue the journey.
That's right.
And that's how I live my life, is by those set of unspoken rules.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's like you were saying that the story happened when you were 20, and then it fruition through your words. And I can imagine typing away, and then later, years and years later, you're like, that was actually something. And maybe you've always meant to just tell that story.
I wonder,
And the way you did it.
That's
Where can we buy these? Sorry, that was one thing.
So, well, I mean, you can just go online and Google Quinn M. Strang, and you'll find it in a load of places. So,
Perfect.
Try not to get it on Amazon, because you know it's nice to buy it from booksellers. And if you buy it, you know, straight from the publisher, One World, that's great too.
One World, cool. One World, guys. We'll see it. I'm going to get a couple of copies for the team, and then we shall report back to you.
Great.
And I know one member of the team will be really interested in that.
Yeah.
And
it's tough territory.
It's like I said to you, Estelle, like the darkness that follows people, we can embrace it, or we can forget about it, but sooner or later it'll come.
I think also there's something about, it was interesting, this is touching on a point that a really, really interesting woman brought a question to one of the festival readings that I went to. This is about a year ago, I think, and she stood up and said, why do we have to keep focusing on the dark? Why do we have to keep going to these places of tragedy and bereavement and loss and complete despair? And I think, well, there were a couple of reasons. Firstly, I think that's partly my job. So I think I have an affinity with looking at darkness and trying to understand it. But also I feel like unless we do actually face and confront what is going on in others and in ourselves, we're never going to be able to transform it. So we have to keep trying to understand it. And whilst I was writing this, I came across this amazing project called the Forgiveness Project, based in London. It's a charity, and they do all sorts of amazing work, restorative justice work. And through that, I came across a book called If You Sit Very Still by Marion Partington, who was the sister of Lucy Partington, who was murdered by Fred and Rosemary West. Do you remember the Wests? You'd have been very young.
Because I said to you downstairs, TV was a big thing for me.
Right. So, and it's her story of how she comes to terms with that horror. And it's an absolutely beautiful book. And it's really about going through this, you know how Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talks about the stages of grief. This is kind of looking at the stages of rage and forgiveness. How do you get there? And also that thing I mentioned earlier, that it's this huge lifelong journey perhaps, and also you're zigzagging both backwards and forwards. It's not a straight path.
It's like some of the best humans are the ones who you just described there. They're facing it head on. Yeah. And that's an unreal energy.
But again, like she was saying in her book, it's the only way for her to have found a kind of peace with what has happened. I mean, just horrific. So
yeah, I do remember.
And I think for me, it just gives me immense hope for the human, because if we have the capacity to process and transform when we've experienced such major trauma like that.
I always say, and the guys will always hear me, I'm always saying, you know, light is useless with it dark. You need light to light up that darkness. It's just a way that it is for this world that we live in. I also we get 24 hours each day. And I always say that, you know, what are you doing with your 24 hours? Because I know what I'm doing with mine.
Your one precious life.
Yeah, one day at a time is exactly how I live the life. Yeah. It's an interesting journey you've had, and is that your only book you've written?
So it's my only book of fiction that I've written, and then I've written three books of poetry, which were before. And well, in fact, my last one, Firebird, that just came out last year, 2024. So it feels a long time ago, but this is called Firebird. It's published by Shearsman. So if you're interested in poetry, go and check out the website. He publishes a lot. He's an independent publisher. He's great.
Cool.
He
look him up.
publishes widely, not just UK poets. So
might just answer that question that I was looking for in the last God knows how long. So we'll have a wee chat when we finish.
For sure. Yeah.
That's definitely. Your name's Emma.
Yeah, but
Em?
everyone knows me as Em, and I publish as Em.
Excellent.
I just have been for years.
Like we're hiding. I was like, but I was thinking, is it Emma? Because being neurodivergent, I'm like, names are an important thing for me. Like I have, it's like back home I was called Jim or the nickname Gaffers, but I'm James Alexander Gaffney. So when I hear people empowered themselves by giving the name they feel comfortable with, I'm all about that. It's like
I think it's just that's always what I've been known as, and so it feels good.
The life for Em is it's a good place. You've got a good energy.
Thanks.
Like you don't know what this means to me. This is your podcast, but this is my room.
Yeah.
This is where I feel safe in a world that I didn't feel safe in for a long time. So I'm welcoming the people and I'm welcoming the energy in. And it's like that energy stays with me.
Great.
And that's the whole ethos of who I am. Like I was on the beach
and
swimming this morning.
It's reciprocal.
It's a sort of I'm all about the the infinity. And it does connect up. And we spoke down the stairs about the two paths.
Yeah.
And I really like that you can either agree or disagree, but it's still the same. We don't know what's coming around the corner.
No, we don't.
Back to the one day at a time.
Yeah.
What's next for Ems?
So what's next is quite exciting. I am currently working on adapting Quinn the novel into a stage play.
Wow.
With two very, very dear friends. One
Excellent.
who is an incredible actor and one who is a theatre director. And we've been working together, Kath and Nigel Hollidge is the actor, Kath Burlinson is the theatre director. They're both incredible human beings who I've known both of them for over a decade, and they've known each other for I think over 3 decades. So we've got this amazingly intense, intimate team of people coming together with ideas of how to adapt this, how to bring it to a live audience really. And I think because it's first person narrator, it has the potential to be a really powerful performance piece. So we'll see. We've got
things like that are right. I'm really up on things. I love stuff like that.
Me too. And we've been gifted a week at Mull Theatre on the Isle of Mull.
Oh, count us in.
So
we love the Isle of Mull.
Yeah, so just for the R&D. This is for
right.
research and development, and then we've just put in for Creative Scotland funding. So hopefully
good luck.
That will come through. Thank you.
Good luck with that. Yeah. It's a big thing, and it's like you heard the conversation we had down the stairs about the art world. It is. I don't mind saying it can be quite selfish sometimes, and I'm alright with that because I feel like creatives like yourself should be given the opportunity to expand on that. But I understand not everybody can get it.
No,
and that's an important thing, even if this is the platform we say it, not everybody can get it. But the ones who get it, like yourself, who I know will go out there and they will put everything at it. That's the important part.
Well, I think for me it's really about, I want to have this conversation with a live audience. I mean, I did it a little bit in book festivals and stuff, but like I said, I'm really rubbish at promoting my work, so I haven't been to very many. But what is electric for me is when you're with a live audience having these kinds of conversations, and people have obviously very strong feelings about forgiveness, about incarceration, about criminal activity. All these things are very important topics to talk about, and I love that exchange, that ability to open a space where people can have frank conversation about this and be empowered through it rather than judged for opinions they may have or whatever it may be. And so I'm hoping that if we manage to get the stage play up and running, that will be another forum for people to be able to come and witness and experience that story, and then also talk about it.
Visual and listening as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well,
I was about to say it's easy. It's not easy. Like when you're putting it onto a book, the hours and the tireless days, and trying to get to the end. I know many people get the opportunity to bring it in. I'm getting excited. You can tell my voice. I get excited with these things because it's like it's 2D, 3D, and then it's into the world.
Right.
And people like, so I like visual. I like hearing. I like touching stuff.
Yeah.
So to go and see something in a show, like I like Matthew Bourne, I like the ballet, so I go and see all these shows, and
beautiful.
That's the word I would use, it's beautiful to see it come alive after maybe watching it on the TV.
Absolutely.
I've seen it about 20 odd times, mine, Swan Lake, but you know, I get excited,
yeah,
because then not only do we know the author, but also you get to see it transcend in the journey on another level.
Yeah.
And that's important. Like we say, it's about inspiring the next generation. Yeah. And if we get inspired, then there's clearly something there that...
Yeah, and it's inspiration and it's also learning, isn't it? And also unlearning. So kind of dropping old ways of knowing things and maybe being open to new ways of seeing things. So it's as much about learning as unlearning for me.
I like that. You know, it's the stigma about how... I don't like this saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, because we had the next door neighbour's dog who you can teach new tricks, by the way. Yeah. But it's like, you can, man. It's like we're too busy sticking inside the bubble that either you've created or somebody else has created. Push past that. Yeah. You're proof of that. I'm proof of that. And there's lots and lots of other creatives there who have yet to find their feet. Right. They're going to come out from behind the couch and going to go, And I always tail off the words in the podcast. If you haven't heard your story yet, hang about, because there'll be something in one of the creative journeys that you'll be like, the aha moment.
Yeah, you know, there's something interesting in what you just said there about creativity, because for me, yes, what we can kind of delineate it out into the kind of disciplines that we all understand as art. So visual art, dance, music making, you know, all various different kinds of story making. But for creativity, for me, is also just about being alive. So it's about wearing a yellow t-shirt. It's about showing up for yourself when you do your morning jog, or making a cup of tea, or doing the dishes, or looking after your kittens. Whatever it may be, that is a creative act for me. And I sometimes, I'm sometimes a bit sad that it's narrowed down into this sort of art world thing, where these particular products are lauded, whereas in fact the greatest gift, I think, to the world through creativity is just to be who we really are, right? Who is James? Who is Em? Who are we really here today, now? That for me is the most profound creative act.
You absolutely hit it right in the head. It is that. It is, like you heard me say, it's not about art, it's not about writing, it's not about painting, it's not about filming. It's about you expressing yourself. I'm glad you said what aware, because my philosophy is the song Baz Luhrmann, Wear Sunscreen, really gave me a lot of stuff. And being autistic and ADHD, these colours calm me, but also they liberate me. Yeah. So my trainers match my t-shirt, my shorts match my glasses, and I get to express myself and go, this is who I am. But people don't, and if I don't do that, how are people going to know that? And unless you say what you've just said, how are people going to know? Yeah. It's like people literally just accept what's there. Stop accepting what's just there and do it, man. It's like, we are proof of this. Yeah. There's proof, and you know, I'm going to be honest, Ems, not a lot of creatives share that what you've just shared, but also share their knowledge. And I guess that's why the podcast and everything's here, is like to share the knowledge about how you've got there, in turn helps somebody else, and it becomes their journey, and you join it. Yeah,
I think so. And also there's that thing that no artist, I mean, let's talk about ourselves as creatives in the broadest sense, right? Rather than a writer or a poet or whatever. You know, none of us get anywhere without all the people that have come before us.
100%.
All the people even that come after us. There's this interconnection between generations, between countries, between cultures, through ancestry. Everything for me is like, I never feel as though I'm alone as a creative, because you can't make something without having also experienced the making of others.
You're right on the same page as us. Like, let's say us, me, like I'm on the beach this morning, I'm swimming, it's a new thing for me, but I always say before, if I take something, I'm always like, you know, our ancestors did this, why are we not doing this every single day, why is there nobody else here? Yeah. But I get the universe to myself for a small time, and I'm quite selfish but unselfish.
Well, maybe it's self-love and healthy self-love.
But you're right, with the creatives, like that word, and it's weird you say that, because last night I literally just changed all the words in all my platforms to like creative, even on, I don't like LinkedIn, but on LinkedIn, creative, because it is, and that's the message, that it doesn't need to be just one thing, because
that's it.
Creatives have a side hustle. It's like they have a job, or maybe they're fortunate and it is their full-time job, but there's a side hustle. And then I think we've had one creative that's on and didn't class herself as a creative, but their side hustle is their main job, and it's great because we then get to showcase that it can happen like that. But we generally have a side hustle, but also risk. I'm always trying to explain there's a certain element of risk.
Yeah, for sure.
Pushing past.
And that reminds me, I really want to plug the Royal Literary Fund because they are an amazing organisation. I've just worked for them for 2 years. So they basically support writers in the UK by offering them a 2-year contract to work with, well, it's 1 year and then it gets repeated if both parties want that. But you're working with university students, helping them to write academic papers, basically, and essays and theses. And I just have loved it so much, and it's fantastic for me. And it's like got all the nerdy grammar bits, right? Syntax and grammar.
I'm shaking the grammar.
Which I love. And then also it's got a really big pastoral role. So you're in there helping and supporting students just to feel okay about themselves, to not get overwhelmed, to learn how to structure their ideas, all those kind of things. And I just loved it. And my post was all online, so I was working remotely, but it was amazing.
Excellent.
And the contract's just ended. But if you're a writer in the UK, get in touch with the Royal Literary Fund because they are absolutely excellent as an organisation. I felt so looked after. And
that's nice to hear because there's a lot of stigma, like you're hearing the way I go, like, in places in this. But I don't apologise for that. There's just certain places are like that. But a lot of places are not like that. Or we wouldn't still be doing.
They're amazing. They blew me away. Really, customer service, if you can call it that, just care for their employees, really.
That's nice to hear, especially in this world that we live in.
Yeah.
I wish I'd met you a few years back. Like, I'm dyslexic, so when I write, it's tough. But I go for it because I just let it go. But and if I'm going to buy you a book, I'll talk about that.
So, speaking out loud, writing verb out, so that you can hear your voice, would be really helpful as a dyslexic person.
So I wrote it, and this is just me, I'm quite naive to the world of neurodiversity, but I didn't realise that dyslexic people can read dyslexic writing. So I sent it to a dyslexic school, and they have the only copy of the original book, and they love it. It's like, we're going to visit there, and I'm like,
that's great.
That made my world just be like, because you can imagine people stop me in the street and say no spelling mistakes, and as autistic, you're like, but I've got a funny story about that. This woman stopped me, and I'm quite quick, and she said, "Oh, spelling mistake," and I was quite hurt because I'm embarrassed about stuff like that. Less now, and I said, "Well, you know that the Harry Potter book, the first edition copies of that are now worth £1 million. We can give you your money back, or you can keep the book." We're still friends. It was like, that's a kind of quick way. But I think with like grammar and stuff, like. That's a wee tough part for somebody like me. Yeah. But I've made so many friends by asking and speaking to them.
I mean, one of the things I love about the dyslexic mind is I was working with a university student, graduate, who was doing a PhD, and she was really struggling with it because she had dyslexia. And there's just something about the beauty of the dyslexic mind jumping ahead. Right?
Yeah.
So it's always 2 or 4 steps or 10 steps ahead of everybody else's, and they've linked up all the ideas already. They know exactly where they're going. But when you try to get that down on paper, then it's really tricky. But there's something exquisite about it as well that I love, and I think just being able to voice that to somebody who has dyslexia and is struggling to write, so valuable.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And it does give you a different. I'm nodding and I'm smiling because that's where my mind goes, and I love writing it. Whereas I denied it for so long, but now I write and I just go for it. Yeah. But I'm going to get you a book. I'm going to plug his book here. One of my good friends who set all this off in motion is Graham Watson, and he's wrote a book called The Invention of Charlotte Bronte, and it's very interesting. Sorry, Graham, I'm only halfway through. I'm a busy man. I'm going to buy that book because I'm meeting him. I'll let you read that. It's Graham, if he comes in, I'll introduce you. They're very powerful human being who's good.
Super.
But I feel we've just scratched the surface. I'm definitely going to come and meet you at Paxton House again.
Yeah, super, dude.
You're good. It's nice. You're good people, as are all people come on the podcast. But you just get that guest that you connect with as soon as you connect. Like I said, guys, I didn't know Ems until, and you know me. I'm like, oh, you'll be getting on the podcast, and it's overwhelming to some people, but. And that's with it telling people, you know, they're autistic and ADHD, but I'm a human being who's just excited about meeting good people.
Yeah.
So guys, we'll put a wee note where the books are and where to find them as well. Maybe the next time we'll have Ems read a couple of her poems.
That'd be nice. And
we'll pop them on. But as usual, if you head across to jagat82.com, you'll find some of our products, and hey, there might be something there for your mum, your gran, your mother, your brother, your sister. There's new stuff being added. But really, for myself and the team, thank you very much for coming on the show, Ems. It's been liberating.
Yeah, thank
really
you so much
for
inviting me. It's been wonderful.
You'll find Ems at Paxton House as well.
Yeah, come and visit, come and garden.
Yes. That'd be a great venue, by the way, for a wee mini version of the show.
Wouldn't it just?
We shall discuss more off the camera.
Watch this space.
Yes. Listen, guys, just remember, I always finish with this now, that instead of just randomly texting somebody, text them and ask them how they're doing. I don't hear enough of that. Just say, how are you doing? And then let me know how you got on, because people are just not connecting the way they used to. I take my words and I do it myself, so I'm like, how are you doing today? And I get some random messages back, not heard from you in a while. And that's nice, just get reconnected. Bye, have a great rest of the day, whatever you're doing, be kind to yourself.